Are you ready for the best damn radio show on the planet? Man Hour Nation, rise up.
Juju, you don't want to be every time, no. I would like to personally welcome you to Man Hour After Dark. Say that then. While I bring you the host, Mike, Buck, and Cone. You know who's coming to the stage. Sports talk than what you about to hear right here. I second that.
Go. You know that it's us when we talking about sports. Giving you facts on the field to the core. Tune in, we need the support. 1 hour too short, still listen some more. On all your stations, not dropping no music. Starts like Adidas, but Nike just do it. Down 4 in the 4th, we go for the win. Michael 2 seconds, we taking it in. Buck, Mike, and Combs, you know what's going on. Man, now we're After Dark, no LA, we the big spark. No 4th and inches, won't cut short. Got the best talking, it's all sports. Buzzing more than buzzer beaters. We coming live all through your speakers, go.
And welcome to the best damn sports radio show on the planet. This is Man Hour. I'm your host, BC Beastie Brandon Combs. If you have not yet done so, and you are watching us on any platform, I don't care what that platform is, YouTube, Facebook, Roku TV, Tiki TV, Belly Up Sports TV, make sure you click like, make sure you share, make sure you subscribe on whichever platform that might be. If you're watching us on Belly Up Sports and Tiki Live or Roku TV and like what you see, head on over to youtube.com/Man Hour. You can subscribe for as little as $2.99 a month. Become a member of Man Hour Nation. Once you're a member, head on over to manhourradio.com. Click on the merchandise tab and get yourself some hot Man Hour gear. We have hats, shirts, hoodies, joggers, phone cases, much, much more. And now that I've tried to pay the bills, we've got a great show lined up. I did have a couple of guests lined up. However, one is forgot that he was going to be on his way to Myrtle Beach at this point to go play some golf. Must be nice. But that's all right. We'll have RC back on the show next week. He has promised to be on next week. And I sent Lucci the link, so hopefully he shows up here anytime soon. And we can talk some football here, which is what basically the gist of the show is going to be. Looks like it's going to be about an hour long. We're going to talk some Aaron Rodgers contract. We're definitely going to be talking some Aaron Rodgers contract. We're going to talk about the Russell Wilson trade. But first, some breaking news tonight. Well, today, actually, this afternoon, as Carson Wentz goes to the Washington, they're not the football team anymore, right? The Washington Commanders. And the Colts don't get a quarterback in return, which is very interesting to me, right? So the Colts sent Carson Wentz to Washington. They got 2 third-round picks and this year's second. They exchanged second-round picks for this year. But that leaves it interesting for me, right? Because there are 2 quarterbacks left that are yet to be traded, right? That we can think of that are the most likely to be traded. One of them being Jimmy G. The other one is DeShaun Watson. Now, I said last year, before they signed Carson Wentz, that DeShaun Watson to Indianapolis was a no-brainer. It was a no-brainer. It made the most sense. If DeShaun Watson goes to the Indianapolis Colts, they are my favorite in the AFC in the AFC South. They would be my favorite in the AFC South. They might be my favorite in the entire AFC if DeShaun Watson goes there. So I was talking with my boy Buck this morning. He's doing the morning show. Called me on my way to work, and we were talking about DeShaun Watson and potential landing spots. And I said, well, you could pretty much write it in that he's going to land in Pittsburgh. It makes the most sense. It's the most plausible idea. And then this trade happened. And I said, I said to myself, I said self. Maybe DeShaun Watson goes to Indianapolis. And as Mike Buck, who's in the chat, what's going on, Buck? In the chat says, interdivision trade. Nah. Look, if there is any team in the NFL that is going to do something stupid, like trade a top 5 quarterback in the league right now to a team in the same division, it's the Houston Texans. The Houston Texans are just dumb enough to pull off a trade like this. And for the Colts, it makes a ton of sense. For the Colts, I mean, you're not going to find Carson Wentz replacement in the draft. And unless you are putting all your stock into Sam Ehlinger, which I don't see happening. So now your 2 quarterbacks for the Indianapolis Colts are Sam Ehlinger, and I believe their third stringer was like a guy named James Morgan. I don't even know who the hell that is. Sounds like a guy who they picked up like Kurt Warner bagging groceries. Like, I don't know that you can say that Houston won't trade DeShaun Watson inside of the division. Now, they've got some extra picks to work with. However, I think if you're going to get DeShaun Watson, it's going to be all first-round picks, so you might have to package, a bunch of your first-round picks. You kind of mortgage your future a little bit to get DeShaun Watson, but I'm okay with that if I'm Indianapolis, right? Because Indianapolis doesn't need a whole bunch. Indianapolis doesn't need a ton of stock. So if you're trading this year's first round, next year's first round, and the next 2 years first rounds after that to get DeShaun Watson, you can find him some more wide receiver help in the second and third round. That's been proven. You can find him offensive line help in the second and third round, but their offensive line is already really good in Indianapolis. They've got a really solid defense in Indianapolis. A lot of people forget this Indy team probably should have been in the playoffs if it wasn't for a freaking gaffe in Week 18 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. This team that started out, I believe it was 0-5 because they were so decimated with injuries, damn near ran into the playoffs. And they would have been a dangerous out. I think there's a lot of teams that are happy that they didn't make the playoffs. So if you get DeShaun Watson, you can mortgage your future right now. If you're the Indianapolis Colts, more than any other team, you can mortgage your future for DeShaun Watson. You can give up all of those picks for DeShaun Watson because you don't need very much to be a Super Bowl contending team. You are literally a quarterback away, and you get that quarterback if you get DeShaun Watson. And I get all people. I get what you're saying, Buck. Interdivision trade. It might be an interdivision trade, but there's one team that's stupid enough to do this, and that's the Houston Texans. So I don't think it's that far-fetched. I still think Pittsburgh is the landing spot, but at the same time, as Buck hops in here, what's going on, Buck?
What's going on, man? Can you hear me all right? I'm driving to work.
Yeah, I got you.
Sweet.
So I'm talking about Houston trading Houston trading DeShaun Watson over to Indy. And I know you said that's a division trade. Now, I still think Houston might be the only team dumb enough to pull off a trade like that.
Yeah, see, the problem with that is Houston now has a new general manager. They have a new head coach in Lovie Smith, right? So
yep.
The more I sit back and think about it, I think they hired a black coach. They hired a players coach to simply keep DeShaun Watson there. Somehow, some way, they're going to finagle their way of keeping DeShaun Watson there. So all
There's
those
no
22, all those 22 sex allegations that we just had, just prolonged it to, hey, we can now finally finagle him to come here.
Yeah, but look, there's no way DeShaun Watson will never play another game in Houston. He's even said that he'll never play for Houston ever again. So if
that was with Bill O'Brien though too.
No, but that's been since Bill O'Brien has left too. And then all the stuff that he's gone through, which a lot of people believe, including myself, and I believe you believe it too, is that the owner of the Houston Texans kind of orchestrated this whole sex scandal. And
Definitely did it. He definitely helped it.
yeah, so I don't see a point where DeShaun Watson's like, all right, yeah, I'll play here. And I think that the Houston Texans' hand is kind of forced. Now, with that being said, if you were to trade him to Indy, you're not. I mean, what are you getting in a quarterback back? What are you getting, Sam Ellinger? Like, you're not getting a quarterback back. So that would be the thing.
They don't need a quarterback. They have Davis Mills, and I think he is going to be a solid quarterback for them for the next 5 to 7 years. What they need is some wide receiver help, is some offensive line help, and what does the Indianapolis Colts have a plethora of? Offensive linemen.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Look, I think that this is a possibility. I still think, as I was going to say right before you hopped on, I still think that Pittsburgh is a landing spot for DeShaun Watson. I still think it makes the most sense. He goes and he plays with Brian Flores, who's really high on, and not that Brian Flores has anything to do with the offense, but he's there. Then you also get Mike Tomlin, and that landing spot there for him with the weapons that they already have in place would be a good spot. I think Indy would be a great spot for him too. I said that last year before they went out and got Carson Wentz. So man, this trade right here today stopped me and gave me pause for where the next DeShaun Watson landing spot is going to be.
Yeah, so speaking of that trade, Carson Wentz, why isn't he getting a fair shake anymore? Because he was a MVP quarterback until he tore his ACL, 3 weeks left in the season, and the Eagles ultimately won the Super Bowl particular year, and they would have won it with Wentz or without Wentz. They were that good. They were that poised to win a lot of games. Why isn't he getting a fair shake anymore?
Yeah, I don't know. And then when you look at his numbers this year, I mean, his touchdown interceptions was 27-7, completed 63% of his passes, had almost 4,000 yards passing, and that's after missing the first 5 weeks of the season with an injury.
Yeah, well, and then he played 3 or 4 weeks with 2 sprained ankles.
Yeah. So I don't know why he's not getting a fair shake. I think that he makes Washington pretty damn dangerous, actually. I thought this was a great trade for Washington. I like Carson Wentz in Washington. I think this was a really good trade for Washington. I'm not so sure that this was here's what I think happened. I think that the Colts would have never made this move if they didn't think they had a chance at either A, DeShaun Watson, or B, a guy we haven't talked about yet, with Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But I just think it's better to come on now with whoever you've got. You know, for Jimmy G or Deshaun Watson, you better do this quick before other teams hop in.
Right. So 2 things there. I don't think the 49ers are going to move on from Jimmy G quite yet. Jimmy G does have a no-trade clause built into his contract. So basically he has to agree where he is going to go. So therefore he is not going to go to a team like, let's say, the New York Giants that are going to give the 49ers a first-round pick and a second-round pick for this particular guy. Jimmy G wants to go to a team like the Colts, like, maybe the Seahawks, right? There are teams out there that he wants to go to where he has a chance of winning right now. Not the Jets, not the Giants, not the Panthers. So I don't think Jimmy G will be in a San Francisco 49ers uniform to start the season unless he is cut. But with that being said, the Indianapolis Colts might have a diamond in the rough in Sam Ellinger, yes, but there is a free agent out there by the name of Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby Brissett was thrown in the fire when Andrew Luck he retired 2 weeks before the season started, right? He had a pretty good few games in Miami when Tua was hurt Oh, and he was a backup to Tom Brady. I think Jacoby Brissett is a X factor in this year's free agency, and he is going to start in the NFL this year. And it would not surprise me one bit if he went back to the Indianapolis Colts for a $3 to $4 million deal, and the Indianapolis Colts sign a big name receiver. Juju Smith comes to mind.
Yeah, there are a lot of options out there for the Indianapolis Colts. There's a lot of options that, like, they've got some pieces they can part with too. So it's going to be interesting. This next, we got a month before the NFL draft. This next month in the NFL, since we ain't got no freaking baseball to talk about, is actually going to be fun to watch because we're going to be watching what the hell happens with free agency. And there's a quarterback carousel again that we didn't see coming, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, it is tough saying because we did kind of foresee. I mean, we thought that Aaron Rodgers was going to ultimately leave Green Bay. I mean, obviously, a big contract allegedly kept him in town there, but a trade that we definitely did not see was Russell Wilson going to the Denver Broncos. I think that definitely shook everything up 100%, and we are definitely in for a wild ride for the next week or so.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be interesting. I think we still, like I said, I still think we have two quarterbacks. We might have more quarterbacks on the move because I didn't see Carson Wentz moving. I didn't see that happening. And that's why it leads me to believe that the Colts already have something in the works to get one of those other two quarterbacks that we just talked about. I think it's already there.
So I see my man Alpha Rob and Luke G in the chat. What's up, guys? So let me ask you this question, because the Washington Commanders, they gave Heineke a pretty good deal. I think it was like a 3-year, $10 or $12 million deal. I mean, granted, that's not starter money by any means, but they thought they had a guy in Heineke. But obviously they brought Carson Wentz in there. Do they move Heineke? Does Heineke end up somewhere now? I mean, there are a lot of things that could definitely fall into place. Or fall out of place.
Yeah, I think Heineke will move. I think Heineke will get a shot somewhere else. But Alpha Rob brings up a good point too. Mitch Trubisky is also out there.
Yeah.
Mitch Trubisky hasn't found a landing spot, and I think he's going to find a landing spot. I think he's going to find somewhere where he can compete for a starting gig too. I
saw a rumor on the rumor mill on the on a Discord that I'm on. People were saying Mr. Trubisky to Indy makes sense.
Ooh, I mean, he runs the same style that a Carson Wentz does. I don't know if I take that chance if I'm Indy though, but a lot of people look. Right? I'm one of those Bears fans, and I hear it a lot around Chicago. But I'm also one of them that thinks that I would love to see Mitch Trubisky go somewhere and succeed, just to make Matt Nagy look that much worse of a head coach than he already does. And because of the way he treated Trubisky.
Wouldn't he be pretty successful in Indy, though? I mean, Carson Wentz and Mitchell Trubisky kind of seem like the same quarterback on the surface, right?
Yeah, I mean that's what I just said. They're the same quarterback. They run the same style. It would make some sense. I would just, you just got to hope that Trubisky learned something while he was in Buffalo, because he didn't learn anything in his 4 years in Chicago. And he tried. That wasn't Trubisky's fault. I mean, a lot of stuff came out about how Trubisky tried. Trubisky, set up a meeting with Matt Nagy to come to a meeting and say, hey, how do we fix what's going on? He had notes and everything, and Matt Nagy never showed up for that meeting. And that was kind of the end of Trubisky and trying to grow in Chicago. And I believe that happened in his third season. So, he played a whole nother year and a half where he knew him and his coach weren't getting along, and he knew he wasn't there for the long haul. That's a tough spot to be in as a young quarterback.
That is stupid in Matt Nagy's eyes. Because he drafted Mitchell, right?
No, he did not. Mitchell Trubisky was drafted by it was the John Fox era that drafted Mitch Trubisky. It wasn't John Fox. It was Ryan Pace who drafted him, and they didn't tell John Fox about it. John Fox found out about it through an ESPN update on his phone, actually.
Shit. Okay. Well,
so
that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Isn't that typical Chicago Bears fashion, though, right?
It is. But I see Luke G's backstage now, so we're going to get to a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to have Luke G talking about Aaron Rodgers. Buck, thanks for showing up. Thanks for talking to us on your way to work. And, hey, give me a buzz in the morning. We'll do this morning thing again.
Hey, before you go to break, one question.
Yeah.
Why is there a pee trap in my sink? I don't want to trap the pee. I would like it to go all the way down the drain straight to the sewage tank.
Why are you peeing in your sink?
Why is there a pee trap in there? Like, isn't that what it's for?
Oh, God. You're an idiot. All right.
Later,
all right, Buck. We'll see you later. Guys, we're going to go to a quick break, and when we come back,